Welcome. My name is Christy Abmasher, and I am a Senior Outreach Specialist at the University of Wisconsin Division of Continuing Studies. I have 25 years of experience in the area of fetal alcohol spectrum disorders prevention and intervention. This is seventh in a 7-part podcast series that is provided by the Great Lakes FASD Regional Training Center with funding from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. It is based on the CDC's FASD Competency-Based Curriculum Development Guide. The goal of this 7th podcast is to address the legal, ethical, and policy issues related to fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. In general, the provision of health care entails a number of ethical decisions, and pregnancy can complicate those decisions. Fortunately, healthcare providers are in an ideal position to address the complex issues and meet the needs of women of childbearing age. This slide outlines the 4 now widely recognized ethical considerations for healthcare that were first developed in 1983 by Tom Beauchamp and James Childress. They relate to perinatal substance abuse in a number of ways, including the following. First is respect for autonomy or informed consent. This may be difficult or even impossible to ascertain when working with women who are facing substance abuse issues or when considering the rights of the developing embryo or fetus. The second is that health care should both benefit the patient, in other words, beneficence, and it should avoid doing harm, in other words, non-maleficence. Yet when working with pregnant women, it can be difficult to both promote the benefit to the woman and avoid harm to her developing embryo or fetus. The third is a principle of justice, which includes ensuring that all patients receive needed services. But women who face substance abuse issues, and especially pregnant women facing substance abuse issues, have lots of needs that may not be able to be met. The principle of respect for persons indicates that healthcare providers also need to respect patients who may continue to drink alcohol or use other drugs during pregnancy. Confidentiality is an additional healthcare issue, but needs to take into consideration situations that present a danger to self or others. And if a woman is pregnant, when might that danger be a risk to her developing embryo or fetus? Historically, the developing fetus has not been given any rights as a person under federal or state law, but a number of recent civil and criminal cases have expanded the rights of the developing fetus. As with other healthcare considerations, perinatal substance abuse can complicate issues related to fetal rights. A couple of examples are included in this slide. One, the 1997 Whitner v. South Carolina case, the U.S. Supreme Court actually affirmed a case against a pregnant woman who was convicted of using cocaine during pregnancy. Conversely, the 2001 U.S. Supreme Court, Ferguson v. City of Charleston, South Carolina, set limits on the ability of healthcare providers to use diagnostic tools, in this case drug tests, to intervene with pregnant women who were using drugs. This slide highlights ACOG's position on this issue. Of importance, it emphasizes the need for physicians to promote the health of their patients through advocacy and referral for services and not via punitive measures. A number of states have addressed the issue of perinatal substance abuse as outlined on this slide. More information about state-level legislative initiatives can be found on the following websites. Perinatal substance abuse can also be viewed from a public health perspective, including thinking about universal, selective, and/or indicated efforts. Universal approaches are those designed to reach everybody. Selective efforts target those most at risk, and indicated approaches reach those already impacted by the issue. This slide outlines a number of barriers that can inhibit the ability to promote perinatal substance abuse prevention, and they include a number of societal barriers, such as the cultural acceptance of alcohol use, a number of consumer barriers, including a lack of understanding about the risks associated with perinatal substance abuse, and professional barriers, including a lack of training from medical and allied health providers. A number of federal-level initiatives have also addressed perinatal substance abuse, including those highlighted on this slide. Also included on the slides are specific examples of universal prevention efforts, such as the annual September 9th FASD Awareness Day, an international effort to raise awareness about alcohol use during pregnancy on the 9th day of the 9th month, in recognition of the 9 months of pregnancy. Selective prevention efforts are highlighted, including materials that target women of childbearing age. And a number of indicated prevention efforts are included, such as brief alcohol intervention for women of childbearing age. It is important to note that healthcare providers can do a great deal to address substance use and abuse among women of childbearing age. This is a complex issue, and women rely on their healthcare providers for information, referrals, and support. We need to keep in mind that brief intervention can work, and that alcohol prevention and intervention should be incorporated across the continuum of healthcare provision. More information on screening and brief intervention is provided in our podcast number 2. The next slide includes several prevention resources. We also include a web link for a searchable National Directory of Substance Abuse Services for providers who do not have access to substance abuse treatment services. In summary, resources and support are available to help healthcare providers encourage alcohol-free pregnancies. Given that 50% of U.S. pregnancies are unintended, it is also important to encourage effective contraception use for women of childbearing age. The provision of health care should routinely include alcohol assessment, education, and counseling for women of childbearing age. It is important to refer women as needed for alcohol treatment and/or family planning services. It is also important to talk to women about the possibility of postponing pregnancy if they have alcohol or other drug abuse problems. And it is essential to provide education and promote skills development for medical and allied healthcare providers. The Great Lakes FASD Regional Training Center can provide more information about this topic or other issues related to fetal alcohol spectrum disorders. For those outside of the Great Lakes region, please check out the web link listed on this slide. This is also a source for a copy of the FASD Competency-Based Curriculum Development Guide. Thank you.